Hello, warriors. Welcome to the You Movement. I am B. I hope you all are surviving this full moon energy that we are in. It has been very exhausting for me and a lot of purges. So I wanted to talk a little bit about crying on a Kundalini awakening. First, just to give you some background, I had my spontaneous Kundalini September of 2021. And if you don't know what a Kundalini is, it is when the energy that is stored in your sacrum is released and travels up your spine and basically out the top of your head. And what I was experiencing while I had my Kundalini was could be described easily as orgasmic ecstasy, bliss, mind-blowing, just whoa. I was doing art on my floor, and the energy was just flowing through me. It was insane, to say the least, what the experience was. I'll never forget. And then a few hours later, I was plummeted into my first, what would be not my last by no means, but my first of a crying session that came with such ferocity and such power. I was bawling, crying like a baby a few hours later. And that would be, as I said, the first session of 3 kind of solid years. There's been very few days in the last 3 years that I haven't cried at some degree. Some days, just uncontrollable tears. Some days, and every type of tear, every flavor of emotion has purged out of me. So, it's a purification that is occurring as the Kundalini continues to travel and push out all of the dense energies that are in your energetic field. So in your body, we store all kinds of emotions, and not just from this life, but from past lives as well, are stored in our physical bodies. And then outside of our physical bodies, we have this emotional body and a mental body and a spiritual body. And it's the purification of your entire auric field. And it needs to be purified and released somehow. And that somehow is quite frequently through tears. And for me, because of how I was raised, emotions weren't safe. They weren't safe, and I was very uncomfortable having emotions. Obviously, through my life, I have gone through stages where I have cried and experienced things, but really, because there was a subconscious program at play that said, shut this shit down, I did everything humanly possible to repress, deny, contain, be stoic with all of my emotions. And that includes, we as people, society, emotions have become almost pathologized, as in, if you're too depressed, oh, you have a disorder. If you have too much anxiety, you have a disorder. If you have swings between high and lows, then you have a disorder. when maybe you have no disorders, you have emotions. And I had a lot of emotions, but those emotions weren't allowed to be expressed, and I didn't know how to express them, and they scared the shit out of me. Panic scared me. Anxiety scared me. Depression scared me. So when I was feeling depressed, which is a normal human response to being abused for a long period of time, I turned to a medical community to help me find a way to shut that shit down through the use of antidepressants. You know, I'm feeling sad, not let's figure out why we're feeling sad and process through the sad or move ourselves away from the situation that's making us sad. No, let's deny the sad or pathologize the sad and turn the sad into like something that we can control through pharmaceutical and numb that sad, that deep, deep, dark sad. Let's numb it out. And when I wasn't using pharmaceuticals, which I was on and off from the time I was in my 20s using pharmaceuticals, I, as you know, used self-medicated always. And what are we medicating? We're medicating our emotions, right? We've pathologized in our own mind that these emotions that I'm experiencing are somehow bad, negative, unwanted, undesired, and therefore I need to do anything and everything to prevent myself from experiencing them. So agitation, nervousness, anxiety could be soothed away with cigarettes. Social anxiety and nervousness of being accepted and wanting to fit in could be placated with alcohol. Also, and or weed later on when it became legal here in Canada. And, I'm feeling like I've had an overwhelming day, stressed, a shot of tequila might do, or a box of donuts might soothe, a pizza. If, I went to work and man, that boss was super mean to me. So, I deserve this pizza. I deserve this chocolate. I'm going to self-soothe that way. I'm going to distract myself as well. I don't want to be sitting in these emotions. So what can I do to distract myself? Can I scroll on my phone? Can I play a video game? Can I, I better do something to get out of this emotion. I don't want to be in this emotion. Let's watch a movie. Let's play a game. Let's, anything. To get away from experiencing emotions. And so I think generally it's almost like everything we do is in attempts to not emote. We just don't want to emote. Underneath the emotions are attached to trauma, and trauma is released through the emoting. But one, we're going to deny that we have trauma, and then two, let's deny these emotions. We don't want these. These are undesirable. We need to be in a better mood. How can I make myself in a better mood? And it's always this quest to how can I make myself in a better mood? How can I distract myself? Maybe I'll do a puzzle now, and maybe I'll do this now. What can I do? So doing is also a means to prevent ourselves from feeling emotions. But then along comes a Kundalini awakening. And there are no distractions out there that are stronger than Kundalini. Kundalini, you need to surrender and surrender and surrender into, because it's going to purge out whatever. And so along what's happening on the inside, there's external stimuli that usually accompany a spiritual awakening to trigger you to start experiencing these emotions, because within the experiencing of the emotions becomes lessons and greater self-awareness and expansion. an understanding of who you are begins to expand. Your entire reality of awareness of what and who you are begins to expand. And so it's through this expansion comes all these tears, and tears of every flavor, and every memory might begin to surface. And I've had times where I'm literally crying like a baby, like just like an absolute baby. I've had times where I'm crying and screaming. I've had times where there's slow, silent drips that just roll down the face. And as I've learned to accept the fact that tears are just kind of a part of this process, I still find, even after all these years, there's a natural inclination, a programming that's built in that says, oh no, I can feel a purge coming on. I don't want it. So there's still a resistance, even though then the awareness in me, the greater observer that I have been cultivating throughout this practice, then reminds me this purge is for your highest and greatest good. So get it over with, get into your hammock or do some somatic movement. I find lying on my back and just letting my legs move, or holding them, in my arms and allowing a little bit of movement to help assist, or just rocking, going in on your side and just rocking. That's why I enjoy the hammock, because I can push against the wall and I can just let the tears start to flow. And it's really gotten me thinking a lot lately about how it's not just me, but it's society as a whole that seems to have created this intolerance of emotions. Like, even as I'm talking about it right now, there's a hint of, oh no, people are going to judge me because they're going to say I'm crying so much, and there's something wrong with that, and oh, you should go to the doctor, and you shouldn't be crying that much. That's unhealthy, and that much grief. There's something more serious going on. Those types of things is what goes on in my my mind. The mental chit chatter of it still wants to, in some ways, turn crying, the act of crying, into something wrong, even though crying is a natural process of the body, no different than urination. It's a form of release. And it makes me wonder, why, if we dig deeper into it, why is the tear so pathologized or so stigmatized, as in, and so seen upon negatively? Especially for men, even more so. All their, boys don't cry, or they'll get called a sissy or something if they're seen crying. And even with women, oh, don't cry. Or it's our first natural inclination is don't cry, to say don't cry, instead of saying, good, cry, let it out, relieve it. You're doing a good job. Good crying, you'd never see somebody tapping another person on the back saying, good job, you're doing a good job. Cry hard. Oh, that one was a good one. We don't promote it in that way. And as long as we're constantly in this state of saying, oh, you need to pull yourself up out of the grief, or you need to pull yourself up out of these tears, or what we're doing is keeping us in a lower state of consciousness. So in the quest for high vibes, in the quest to raise our frequency, we're actually debilitating that from actually happening if we prevent the tears. It's through the tears, it's through the actual release of tears, like a washing machine is doing its spin and release cycle. So it's actually through the tears that we ascend. It's through the tears, and that's why Dark Night of the Soul has so many tears. But my tears started before I really went into like a real Dark Night of the Soul. As I said, within a few hours of my initial Kundalini, I was purging, and then it became a daily release, sometimes multiple times a day. And I find it's always much more intense on the full moon. It's almost like the moon itself is working for us, as we are mostly bodies of water. And the tide within me is it's high tide. It's high tide, and whoa, those waters are coming out and going to be forced to come out, because it's our egoic gravitation to stay away from tears. And so high tide, full moon comes in and goes, it's crying time. And so you'll be triggered and in a much more highly sensitized energy to help facilitate those tears. And, people talk a lot about full moon energy as, people start behaving all kinds of crazy. Well, maybe people are behaving crazy because everybody needs to sit down and have a really good cry. It's in the repression of the crying. It's in the, I'm going to try to do anything and everything to prevent myself from crying. That is the problem. The problem isn't what's underneath the problem isn't what's underneath it, which is the crying. The problem is our aversion to crying. And the sooner we start embracing and celebrating and rejoicing in the release of tears as being pure warrior work and pure spiritual practice of profound healing, and start, yay, tears, yay, crying, I did, so if you find yourself in cycles of tears, understand, one, that's purification. That's happening for you to help assist you in clearing out the dense energy that is in you. That your reaction to tears has been a societal programming that has said tears are somehow wrong. And that is actually keeping you repressed. So that internal struggle that goes on when it comes to emoting wet emotions is the struggle between your freedom and your repression. Not just the repression. So as you repress your emotions, you yourself are in a consciousness state of being repressed. You are allowing the indoctrination that says tears are wrong to keep you minimized. And the more we release our tears, the more free, in fact, we become. I hope that makes sense to you. It is the scream of consciousness being born anew that comes through each solitary tear. And one thing that I've started doing is I let each tear have its life. I don't wipe my tears. I don't, blot them with Kleenex or anything. I let each tear fully flow and experience it fully now. And it's still painful. It is very painful. The process of releasing tears is painful. The process of feeling each feeling, no matter what it's been triggered by or what it's associated with, and it's painful. But I would rather it out than in. I would rather allow myself to continue to get lighter in this enlightenment process and let the tears flow, releasing each one of them, then hold them in and be where I was 5 years ago. Just look at that swollen, depressed, sick, disease, distorted, disturbed, whatever you want to call her, woman, that poor woman that I once was. And so through the release of tears has really been the most profound tool that has been on this awakening, this Kundalini awakening, is learning to let myself cry, learning not to be afraid of the tears. And it's scary. It's scary to feel. And it's overwhelming at times to feel, but somehow after you let yourself do it, there is a small little bit of relief and a small little bit of, okay, I'm one step closer. And there's a lot of steps. The path to enlightenment is a lot of steps, and the path to enlightenment is littered with a lot of tears. Thousands and thousands of tears. So for those of you who are crying, I cry with you. I honor you. I support you. And I'm sending you all of my love and compassion because I most certainly understand you. If you would like to book a one-on-one with me to discuss some of the emotions that are surfacing for you and you need some assistance, please feel free to reach out and do that. I'm sending everybody out there who is going through Kundalini and a spiritual awakening my absolute I'm so proud of you. Every single tear that comes, I'm really proud of the work that you're doing. I don't think it's something that somebody says enough, so I'm going to say it. I'm proud of each tear that you are shedding. You are doing serious warrior work. Thank you very much for the likes and the shares and the comments and the subscriptions and everything else and the donations that are coming in. I really appreciate it. This awakening has been exceptionally challenging, and to have your support and to build this community that we're building means an awful lot to me. With that said, peace out.